All right, so cheesecake. This is a very, very popular item and something that's very, very close to my heart, and I know it is to yours. And there's a lot of options. There's a lot of different things. It's kind of a blank palette when you really take a look at it. But in all honesty, your cheesecake is not a cake at all. It's a custard. It's a baked custard. It just happens to have cream cheese in it. So we're going to start first with making a crust. I've got some simple little graham cracker crumbs here, a little bit of brown sugar, and some melted butter. And we're going to mix this together until it is, I like to call it cakey, like kind of caked up. It holds its shape, like so. Once it is there, we're going to let that set aside for just a second. You can go ahead and start working on your cheesecake. Now when it comes to crust though, you can do Oreo crumbs, you can do the tops to leftover cake. When you take those tops off and just drop that cake in. A lot of hotels that I've worked at in the past, we would just take the tops off of our chocolate cakes or our vanilla cakes, and we would drop that down to the bottom of our pan, pour the cheesecake batter over it and bake it. I mean, it's sustainable, and you're using up waste that could, in other words, usually hit the trash can or something. So, all right, so here's the key. We're gonna make our cheesecake batter. You will notice that this is super soft. I left this out overnight. We're gonna be baking it, so I'm not too worried about that. I'm gonna take that cream cheese and just put it straight into the mixer. It's soft. That's the key. And how are you gonna do that? You're gonna leave it out overnight. We're gonna go ahead and raise our bowl up here. And we're gonna start first with our salt and our sugar. And what this is gonna do, that sugar and that salt is gonna act as an abrasive, and we'll start to break that down. I'm gonna let that run for a minute or so. While that's running, we'll talk a little bit about prepping pans. So I'm a firm believer that less is more. And one of the things that kind of stood out to me when I first got in the industry was the idea of using the pans that you already have to bake everything that you've got. So I use hotel pans, half hotel pans, sheet pans. I don't buy a lot of specialty pans usually. And when it comes to cheesecake, that's the same thing for me. So I have a standard, today I'm just doing a 6-inch cheesecake for the demonstration. So this is a standard 6-inch cake pan. I'm gonna give it a nice little light spray. And then I've got some saran wrap here. Now this is heavy duty saran wrap. This is what we use in the industry. And I'm going to stretch it out over the outside surface. And then I'm gonna drop that straight in using my knuckles until it lines the inside of the pan. No major creases or anything. And then I can come in on the outside up top and kind of roll it over, making kind of like a lip. So now you got your lined cake pan with the saran wrap. And then you're gonna come in and grab some of my crust. And I'm just going to get that flattened into the bottom. And then once again, using the knuckles and the back side of the hand, works really, really well. I've seen people use rocks glasses. Those work really, really well. So that's in there. And we'll put this in the oven for about 5 to 10 minutes just to kind of set it, and then we'll get that out. All right, so we've got our cream cheese here. It's working. We've got our crust back out of the oven. You'll notice that the saran wrap didn't really melt or anything. You're only baking it for about 5 or 10 minutes at about 325 degrees just to kind of set the crust, dry it out just a touch. Our cream cheese is nice, creamy, fluffy. I've got some sifted cake flour here. I've also got a little bit of lemon juice. Now the cake flour is not always necessary, and it's only about a tablespoon or so, but it does help with some of the texture. And then I've got my eggs. I'm gonna drop in 1 egg and let the batter absorb that. Once it absorbs it, I'm gonna turn it off, lower the bowl, scrape, especially with a KitchenAid mixer or your standard household globe or whatever. You wanna make sure that you're constantly scraping right down to that little nub in the middle. That's where some of that cream cheese hangs out at. There's nothing worse than biting into a cheesecake and having that cheesecake batter have like a chunk of unsweetened cream cheese in the middle. It's just not very appetizing. We'll drop another egg in and let that absorb. And once again, scrape the bowl down. We want to scrape between each egg until you get all the eggs in. So after we've got all the eggs incorporated, we're going to slowly drizzle in the cream, and in this case, our vanilla extract. Just needle it in, nice and slow, so it emulsifies with the batter. And once all that's needled in, we'll scrape down one more time and let it run. Now, this is a baked custard, and like we talked about with the creme brulee, you have the opportunity to have some air incorporated into this. And I really do think that a lot of times when people tell me that they have cracks in their cheesecake, it's usually one of three things. The heat is too hot, so therefore it causes it to souffle. The top gets a crust, and then of course it cracks open. Number two, the cheesecake batter is too dry, meaning it doesn't have enough cream. And then number three, and this is the one that I found the most when I was in the industry, was letting the batter rest overnight. So, for those of you out there watching this video, I implore you to go ahead and let your batter rest overnight. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pour our batter into a bowl. No lumps, good. We're going to pour this into the bowl, and we're going to put this in the refrigerator for 24 hours, and then we'll come back to it. Of course, covered, labeled, and dated, because if you're going to have it in the refrigerator, you want to make sure that it's all covered up and ready to go. All right? All right, so our cheesecake batter is sat for 24 hours. And just a little chef tip, I did learn this about a year or so ago. If you've just got a small amount of cheesecake batter, feel free to put it in a vacuum pack bag and then vacuum pack it, and it'll actually pull the air that you've incorporated while mixing out as well. Just a cool little neat trick. All right, so we've got our pan that we lined yesterday with the crust. It's baked. I covered it just overnight until this cheesecake batter was ready. I've got a pan here that's going to be for my water bath. And I'm just going to go ahead and fill this up to where it's almost to the top. Nice and clean. Here we go. We're going to walk this over to the oven and go ahead and get our water bath in. All right, so we're here at the oven. We've got our oven set at about 300 degrees. And we're going to go ahead and put water in that pan. Until it's about halfway. Slide that in the oven. 300 degrees for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Sometimes 2.5, depending on how low the oven is. We'll show you the final texture when it comes out. All right, so our time's up on our cheesecake. Just to come in close here and take a look at what we're talking about. What is done, what I tell people is, it's got this little pillowy spring to it. It's nice, you can see it kind of bounces back a little bit. No color really, except for just this little bit of blush tanning right there. We'll let this sit in the water until it comes down in temp and neutralizes. Also, if it ever comes above the pan, while it's cooling down, help the edges right here so that it doesn't crater in. Sometimes it'll grab and the inside will fall, because it is a souffle. It's a custard, so it is souffled up a little bit. But this is like perfectly baked. So our cheesecake came out of the oven yesterday. So if you add this up, day one, we actually made the batter. Day two, we baked it. Day three, we pulled it out of the fridge. So no, you can't make cheesecake quickly. It's not a 2-hour process or an hour and 90 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever. It takes time to make a really good cheesecake, okay? So our pan has been refrigerated. If I come in, I can remove the saran wrap from the sides, and I can actually pull up on the saran wrap. Get your hand up underneath. Move the pan out of the way. I've got a cake board here. I can just slide this straight onto the cake board. And you'll see we've got a nice, clean cheesecake there. Let's go ahead and give it a slice. Wiping the knife each time you cut really does keep that nice and clean. So we're just going to cut that right in half so that we can go ahead and display the inside. So the crust is a little thick. I like the crust to be a little bit thinner than that. Feel free at home to go ahead and work on that, but you can go ahead and slice this up, serve it with a little bit of fresh strawberries, maybe macer a little bit of sugar or some oranges.